In this demo, I'm going to show you how you can sync the project that you created in Lovable with GitHub, and then using GitHub Desktop, download the project into your local computer, and then use Visual Studio Code with Copilot to do the rest of your development. As you know, in Lovable, you have daily credits, and it might be not sufficient enough for you to do a lot of changes. This way you will be saving a lot of money, basically, if you use Visual Studio Code with Copilot instead, and at least do a lot of the developments there in your local environment. To be able to set this up, you need to do a few things. The first thing is that you will go to Lovable. You need to create an account, and then what you would do is that you will start creating your skeleton of the project by a few prompts, which I have here. For example, I have here expense tracker app. Once you are done with the base, with the base structure of your app, what you need to do is you need to sync it with GitHub. So this button is here, sync your project to GitHub. You click here and you say connect GitHub. Just before doing that, make sure in GitHub you have an account created. So this is my account. And also you need to have an organization. So if you go here, you'll see that I have created this organization. Well, I have two. And you need to have an organization for Lovable to be able to sync the project with GitHub. Okay. So if you don't have, you just come here and you say new organization. First, you create your GitHub account, then come here and create a new organization, follow the prompts. Once it's ready, come here, go on GitHub, connect GitHub. Then you see it says connect project is not connected. So what you need to do is you connect. You see I have this one as my organization. Again, if it's not here the first time, you need to probably connect it, sign in, and allow it to connect to GitHub. And then with a few prompts, you will see that it's connected. Okay. So I'm already connected, so I see this much faster. You see connect transfer to setup two-way. So here you need to say I'm moving the only instance of the project to GitHub organization, okay, your organization, and you say transfer anyway. And then if everything goes well, you will see that already the GitHub project, the link to the GitHub project is here. So you see it here. You can also, it already has a link that you can view, which goes to the GitHub. So basically what GitHub is a place where you can store the code, and any changes that you make here will be automatically reflected in your Lovable as well. Okay, you will see that there would be another change here that says that they reflect the change that was made here. Okay, so now your project is synced here, is stored here, and it's going to be shown and synced from your Lovable project on the web. Okay, so now the next thing you want to do is you want to download this project into your local environment, in your local computer, so then you can make changes in there, right? So how would you do it? You will go to code. The easiest way is to use open with GitHub Desktop. Before doing that, you need to download GitHub Desktop. I already have it, but you can go here, download GitHub Desktop. For example, this one is for Mac. You download it, and then once you have it, you just come here and you say open with GitHub Desktop. See, I'm opening it. I have it on this screen, and you can see it asks you to use a path in your local machine. So whatever your preferred path here is, you put it here, and you say clone. Clone is basically meaning that it's going to bring the project into your machine, and you will have the files in your machine. Right now, as you see, there is no changes. Everything is moved to your machine, and it's ready for your local development. Now what you need to do in order to work with the project, the fastest or one of the easiest tools you can use is Visual Studio Code. You need to download it. So you go Visual Studio Code, just Google it and download it for the environment that you need. For example, in this case, I'm going to download for Mac. And once you have it download, all you need to do is to go to your you need to open Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to open it. You will have this environment, Now you need a few things. You might already have this chat on the right side, which is the Copilot chat to build and work with the project using agents. If it's not there, you would need to go here and you can look for Copilot, and you can download, I think it's this one, GitHub Copilot chat. Once you download it, you should be able to see the chat here. And maybe the first time you start using it, it might ask you to log in. In that case, log in, and then once you're successfully logged in, then you can start coding. I know that it might be free for some period, or I'm not sure what's the state now. If you're a student, for example, you can have 1 year of free access, and that comes if you have GitHub Education. So in that case, you would need to go to GitHub Education, and here you would need to join GitHub Education. It has some process, but what it does, it makes your account to be an educational account, which gives you a lot of benefits if you're using GitHub, which I totally recommend if you are in education. So let's go back here. Now what we need to do, we need to open the project that we sync to. So remember, when I had cloned this one, it actually was cloned into my local machine, okay? And what I need to do, you can see view the files of your repository in the Finder. So you can say show in Finder, and you can see where it is. In this case, if I go okay, here. So you can go for, in this case, mine is going to GitHub. This folder, I have it here, okay? And then you go here, you open the project that it's pointing to your local machine. In this case, I'm going to go to downloads, documents, sorry, and then GitHub. And this is going to be my project, okay? I'm going to open it. Once you open it, you will see this structure of the files. It's going to be exactly the same as you see on GitHub. And then what you need to do, you come here, and here you talk to the agent to run, first of all, install and run the project, and then making changes. Just make sure that you have this set to agent. If you have it set to ask, it would not make changes. It will just tell you what changes you need to do, and you have to do it yourself. But if you do it on agent, it will actually make the changes for you. So if you're not technical and you want the agent to take care of the process, just pick agent. Here I'm gonna say install and run the project. You might need some of the things, local tools, for example npm or git. If that's the case, it might give you errors, but the nice thing is that agent will probably tell you how you should install it, and it might even do it automatically. You just need to accept it. But in that case, you need to install a few more things like npm or git to be able to work with this project. So what's going to happen is going to do a few things. So you will see this a lot. For example, it wants to run this on the command terminal. Just allow it. And then you'll see that it's running some commands. And again, these are all for building the project for the first time and running it. After that, it will be much faster. Okay, allow, and you see after a few moments, again, if it's your first time, you're gonna probably see it will take longer. It will need to download. You get some errors, then you need to download a few things, but it's going to help you. If you have it on agent, it will help you through the process. So now that I have here this thing, what you need to do, you copy this, or you can follow the link, and this will go to the expense thing that you can see here. So this is exactly the same as if I go back to the beginning of this, you see this is exactly the same as the one I have here. Sorry. So this is my local one. This is the one I have on Lovable. Okay. So now what I want to do, I will make a change in my local environment, which again, the nice thing here is that it's going to be almost free or free. So you don't need to pay Lovable and get a lot of credits, use a lot of your credits. So here I'm gonna, for example, say, I want to change the color of this button, the sign in button, to green. So what I'm gonna do here, you just describe your change. So change the color of the sign in button to green. So it's going to search for the sign in button, figure out how to make the change. Okay, so now if I go back here on this one, you'll see that the color of the button is already changed. Remember, this is localhost, this is your local development. And you can also see that it says keep. It's already keeping, it's just telling you that, hey, I made this change on this file, okay? auth.tsx. Again, if you're not technical, it's just the files that is changing that reflects the changes to in this case, the color, which is a very minor, small change. So here now, if I go to, and this is very important, if you go to your GitHub desktop, you'll see exactly the same change appearing here. So this is working with Git. In Git, you can see when you make changes, it already automatically picks it up and compare it to the previous version. And now it's saying that these are new things that we don't yet have stored in Git. In this case, it's also the main source of truth is GitHub repo. So now, even though I have made the change is still not on your GitHub project. If you want it, and thus it's not even here. So if I refresh this, I would not see the change. How do you get it here? Or first, then remember, you need to make it go here. You need to come here. You can, usually we write a comment on what the commit is about. So I can just say updating the color, okay? And then you say commit, and you can see this plus, you can see that there is this one. It means that this thing has been changed, but I haven't yet pushed it to GitHub. So click on this, push, and now if you go to GitHub and if you go back to the code, you will see updating the color appears here and says now. So there was a change that happened, and you can see it reflected in GitHub. Now if I go here, you see that I also have the Lovable. As soon as you come to this page, it gets updated, and you can see the color is also changed. If not, you can always do a refresh here or here to make sure that the change is reflected. Now you have the change, right? But remember, sometimes you make the changes in your local machine here, and sometimes it might be for some reason, or actually sometimes if you're working with a database, something that it's better to use Lovable, or maybe you tried to do something in your local machine using GitHub, and it just Copilot, sorry, and it didn't do what you desired. It didn't make the changes that you wanted. So you might be tempted to do it here to see if in this case you can achieve what you wanted. And this is very normal, so you can go back and forth. The only trick is that if you make any changes here, you also need to do something, which I'm going to explain. So for example, let's say now I decided that I wanted to update the welcome back text to red, okay? I'm gonna say fluid, Again, this might be a more sophisticated change, right? But it's something that we're just demoing to show. So we're gonna wait for the change to happen. Okay, saving changes. You see, if I sign out, I'm gonna see that this is red. Okay, now you see I already lost 50 cents of my credit, which is something which for something like this, it's a lot of credits used, right? Now the thing is that if I go back here, even if I refresh, I'm gonna see this still in my local machine. This is still black, right? So what do I need to do? Remember, if I go here and if I refresh, you will see that I already have the color change to red here, which is great. So if you want to make sure things are committed, you can check also this commit. You will see that if I go here, you see updated color, changes, highlight welcome text in red. Okay, so these are the changes that happen. And again, because Lovable is synced with GitHub, as soon as you make a change, it would push it to GitHub, which is great. So in this case, you don't need to push it, because if you remember, in your local machine, you have to do this manually, but in Lovable, it happens automatically. But if you want to get the changes that happen here in your local machine, what you need to do is you need to open GitHub Desktop and go here and say fetch origin. And now you will see that, hey, there are two commits, which was the one that I showed you, that are on the GitHub but not on your local machine. So all you need to do is say pull. Pull means that I'm gonna get them on my machine. Then if I go to my app here, you see that now in my local is you also have it red. It's very easy to start making changes here, for example, and then forget to pull it here, and at the same time make changes here. And then when you push your changes from your local one to the GitHub, you might get conflicts because the repo is changed. We call this repo. This could be your repo, because your repo is already changed with the changes here, and then you want to make a change. You're making new changes from here, so you might get conflicts, and conflicts are difficult to resolve. So I would totally recommend, especially if you're not technical and you're not a Git expert, to be careful and just do it simple. Always try to have the state of both projects in the same state. So in this case, whenever you're pushing a change here, make sure you update it. You push to GitHub, then your Lovable gets updated and it's up to date. Whenever you make a change in Lovable and it's in your GitHub, before making change in your local machine, always go here and do a fetch. If there is something to fetch it first, then make your changes here. This way your projects will always be in sync and you will never get conflicts. I think that's it. Thanks for listening.